G'day everyone, this is Rangadad. Not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market. Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting day to interesting start to the US market. Just wanted to start on this chart today because basically looking at the hourly here, it's finding a fair bit of resistance. The 200 and the 800 EMA on the hourly, which is the 200 on the 4 hour, smack bang together, and this is the second time that we've tested it from underneath with a green candle. So it's going to be very important to get through this to the upside. It looks set to do so, and if we do actually break this to the upside, I expect this resistance to not hold anymore. This is the channel that we've been in for a fair while now. We've briefly got above it and just kept testing it to the downside until we finally broke below again. This looks like the final try to the upside. If we don't break above this, then I'd actually expect pretty well the bear market to start, and there to be something pretty wrong with global markets in general. Couple of concerns here. One, we haven't really dipped as far into this candle as what I thought we would. One thing that was pointed out by Misho the other day was the break-even point on BTC mining at the moment is around this level. Basically, they tapped into that level and bounced off it. As you can see, that doesn't necessarily matter so much if we go into a bear market. They will break through that and keep dropping. Those guys get pretty decent drawdowns. They make their money in the bull and they just mine and hold as much as possible in the bear. So the well-funded ones are going to be okay. The ones that are struggling for cash in the bull market, they're not going to be great. So, that's an interesting level. It was right smack bang on the middle of this channel as well, which I pointed out in the Discord at the time. I actually sold my longs just up in here, just after this red hourly candle, because I didn't like the look of the way that candle turned. It just didn't look to me like it wanted to break through that level. And lo and behold, I actually ended up in profit on the shorts as well. So yesterday was a pretty decent day. Trading, lots of volatility and good levels that it was hitting. So this trend line here is very important. And it looks like it's reasonably accurate where it's at. So, I mean, the 1 hour, 200 and 800 are also important, obviously. It does look like it really wants to break through them at the moment. 10 minutes left in the hour. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up. But yeah, the dip wasn't really on the economic news, I believe. I think it actually went up on economic news. I'll have a look at the news in a minute, but I always come to the charts first. If it's in the news, it's in the price. So basically, the market didn't like something, but it's rejecting a pretty key level there. Good support here, though. So stopping volume, we covered it. you could call these recovered. There's more than 50% of it has been recovered. So the 50% level is just there. You know, it's okay to go to the upside from here, I guess, is what I'm saying. And to go on a pretty good move, but we've got to be a little bit careful. If we reject off here, or if we hit this again in the next few hours and reject it, then I don't know that we will really go much higher than this for a while. So just bear that in mind. It's still a 140 out the door sort of market at the moment. Yeah, it looks like it's trying to push through now. So that's a very positive sign. If we can close above that, we might see a little bit of resistance coming at this level and just a pullback into the 200 and the 800, and then a move away. I'd prefer it though if it did actually just on the 1 hour at least. The 15-minute might be a bit choppier, but on the 1 hour you're looking for this to break above, come back down, retest, and then go to the upside. And I guess everyone's talking about the crypto summit. Crypto's pretty beaten down at the moment, and it has been. If we look at the daily, you just look at this chart here. Whoops. It's not often that crypto, even in a bear market, will suffer this much for this long without some sort of decent rally. And I don't count the Trump pump just in the last week. So yeah, we will come back to this week some stage this year, but at the moment, and look, the daily could look better as well. If we close this daily above that level, that's really quite bullish, in my opinion. Still finding some resistance off the 50 EMA on the daily. Oh, sorry, forgot what chart I'm on. That was the 1 hour, 50 and 200 that I was looking at before on the 1 hour, those moving averages. So, but yeah, even a daily closure sort of above the 9 or the 13 EMA, the blue or the yellow line there, is pretty bullish as well. So, and looks like we're holding above the daily 200. That's a good sign. And look, momentum is to the upside, so can't really argue with more upside at the moment, just based on what the charts are looking like. Well, there's some decent vector candle recoveries up here in the value area high range as well. Whether we can push higher than that, we'll just have to wait and see. But at this stage, I think there's going to be some shorters that might get wiped out. Just looking at total crypto market cap versus stable coins. This, again, if we close above this horizontal line on the daily, I'd be a lot more confident. At the moment, we've sort of got this trumpet kind of to the downside. Closure above this, what it's looking like now, this is what I was worried about the other day, and that's still a concern, obviously. We've actually got another trumpet on the shorter time frame there too. Just go to the shorter time frame for the time being. So we had a little expanding wedgie thing, which I found interesting yesterday. Interesting that lined up with the mid band of the channel on Bitcoin as well. But it looks like we've just sort of confirmed the breakout above that. Again, we've got the 50 and the 200 on the hourly to get through here. Still struggling against it. And this horizontal line, I think, is quite key as well. So Still a fair bit of resistance to get through. What could happen here? There's two scenarios basically. You got Powell going to be talking soon. Actually, hang on. I'll just get this right because I want to make sure this is right what I'm saying. He hasn't actually talked yet. So, quick look, unemployment change. Yeah. Unemployment rate has actually pulled back a little bit on expectations. This is constantly being revised, I believe. No, not this one, but it's still overall trend is up, but capacity utilization is up a bit as well in Canada. Average hourly earnings came in line with expectations. Non-farm employment change. So that was a little bit weaker than expected. That sort of number I wouldn't think would move the market. The unemployment rate, though, that probably did move the market. That's on balance, though. I think that actually led to the little pump into that resistance level. So could have actually been Bowman something else that actually moved the market down. But this is what we've got to watch out for. 3 a.m. my time. No, so he's already spoken then. That could have moved the market as well. But 7 a.m., so another hour. Powell's already talked as well. And markets have bounced a little bit from then. So that's an interesting one. And then I think this is the State of the Union. So yeah, it's interesting we've moved up after most of these guys have talked. So the only thing really that could throw a spanner in the works for the weekend, I think, is Trump in an hour. So just be ready for that. That could swing the market both ways quite violently. Let's have a look at what that might look like. But yeah, these aren't huge percents we're talking about on the hourly here. We could very easily get another move back down, retest this level again and move up, or we could just smash straight through here. What I'm kind of expecting, just based on everything I'm seeing on stocks and stuff, is a move up, maybe a bit of resistance here, pull back into this level, and then a move away. That'll happen over the next couple of days, I would think, but it looks like that's the most likely probability at this stage, just given what we've got above in terms of liquidity, given the buying pressure that we've had off the drops. It's, and given stocks have been beaten down so hard, it looks like they're turning at the moment. And we've pretty well reached peak fear in retail and hedge funds. So I think it would make sense to have a bounce here. And the Bitcoin's putting in higher lows here as well. So it could be a bear flag. We've got to keep that in mind. Like, there is a potential channel. Don't have it there. I never get the right one. I'll get there. Oh shit, it's in there. Yeah, okay. So what we could have here. Sorry. I use these a lot. We could have a bit of a bear flag starting as well, but at this stage, it's not a great one, really. Kind of expect this to break to the upside. But as I said, 1 foot out the door, be ready. If we this line here, it's the one we've got to be careful about. Yeah, at this stage, I don't think that's a great channel there. I don't think it's going to be a bear flag. We've already typically when Bitcoin wants to drop hard, again, it'll go more sideways. Unless it's a quick move for liquidity. Yeah, just the way it's holding this bottom, I'm reasonably comfortable that I'm reasonably comfortable holding the longs into Trump's speech, put it that way. Still a fair bit of buying pressure here too. And momentum's finally ticked to the upside on this one. Okay. Daily still doesn't look great on it though. That's the only concern there. And the thing with daily on Bitcoin, it's really tricky because if you're looking for daily trends, yeah, you can have some bias to one side, but you look at this, if you're just going off daily, that is pretty bullish, typically, that sort of candle. And Bitcoin just kept dropping. So daily swings are massive. The highest time frame I really find useful at the moment. Sometimes I look at the 4 hour, but the 1 hour is kind of the go-to. And then if I'm trading, it's more like the 15-minute. So that's just how I look at the market. Just wanted to look at the linear regression channel here as well. So we are pushing. And generally, things are aligned in a bullish nature. Maybe another test back down in here, just depending on how it goes getting through these moving averages. It's going to be, it is quite interesting that the top of the linear regression channel is, well, top and bottom are very close to this wedge pattern that we've got forming here. Yeah, break of this wedge pattern to the downside, that could get a bit nasty. That could be close. Because yeah, we did get very close to another test on this level, this bull market support line. So it's still a bit of a coin flip. We'll see what Trump does to us. The market's just going nuts for him at the moment. Whichever way he goes, the market goes. Same thing happened last time he was president. What I'm more interested in is these markets seem to be doing what they should have been doing based on the data. Sweep of the lows, we've picked up this trend line, which I was concerned yesterday that we hadn't hit that yet. And that was basically the main reason why I thought that markets would drop a little bit more and then bounce. And that's basically what they've done. There was a little bounce during the after hours as well, and then looked flat. But yeah, that's a pretty nice move. Leaving a little vector here, but not too concerned about that at the moment. I just think if we break through that level to the downside, then wow, it's going to get nasty quick. There are some still lingering concerns, and I guess what I'm seeing at the moment is potentially, um, where is it? Financials. So financials, good buying pressure here. So I did have a pretty negative day. It's closed this gap, but if it needs to kind of turn at the same time. If financials keeps dropping and picks up this 200 EMA, while the rest of the market kind of goes up, then to me that's going to pretty well confirm that whatever bounce we get is a dead cat bounce. Regional banking breaking below this trend line as well isn't a great sign. You could argue that that trend line's not particularly great in terms of where I've drawn that. So I picked up this level here plus some bounces through this level, but you could argue that it's more in that sort of area. This one's a wide one. I'll leave it there for now. So it could come a little bit deeper. The fact that we've made a lower high on this, the financials is the one that concerns me at the moment, I guess. So that's still, let's keep one foot out the door. Interesting rejection at the moment. Still got 2 hours to go. Again, if Trump comes out and says something the market likes, that could easily close above the 200 EMA. Mini futures, similar sort of deal. That's pretty well picked up that level. There is a gap fill still. It's after this many days in a row of like, I think it's greater than 1% moves. Typically after that, you do get some upside over the next month or so. Data is suggesting that this has been too big a move and it's oversold essentially. Global liquidity has come back a little bit as well. It's still sort of testing this trend line. I'd like to see a bounce on that next week. We've also got to keep one foot out the door because Friday afternoon is when there's likely to be some sort of news come out. If there's going to be bad news, it'll come out like really bad news, like crash of a major bank or anything like that. Just like Silicon Valley Bank, they'll bring it out on Friday Arvo. That's their playbook these days. At the moment, equal weight, it would be, it really needs to get back above that trend line. If we're just grinding up on equal weight and we only really get up into sort of this level here, then that would look a bit nasty. But at this stage, again, it looks like decent buying pressure off a good level, good horizontal level there. If we move up into here, everyone's going to be looking at this as a head and shoulders. So when everyone's seeing something, it hasn't played out so well of late, but like this was going to be a head and shoulders here as well. But yeah, it's still think there's a reasonable chance that equal weight will get up and reclaim this vector. I'll have to wait and see. So S&P 500, good bounce off the 200 there, swept the lows, and so far is moving up. It's probably not going to move too much until Trump speaks, I'd say. This will be a good close on the E-mini futures. Happens again, it's picked up this little trend line through here. Look, that's a decent run to the downside. It's not often you get that sort of choppy run to the downside. But yeah, Wall Street's been buying what retail's been selling all the way through. The Russell hasn't really hit the level I would hope, but there was a lot of trading through here. That's actually potentially I haven't put the volume indicator on it, but probably in a fair bit of demand in that zone. Stayed within the channel on XLI, that's a good sign. XLY, XLP has actually dropped below that support line, which had a decent bounce off before, but this is still looking pretty sick actually. Not sick in a good way. It'll have to bounce pretty soon. I think it is really overextended to the downside. Look at the equal weight one. Equal weight has hit the 200 EMA now. So that is a good sign. It's not a great sign that momentum's still to the downside with quite high volatility, but if it bounces from here, then that'll show that there's a little bit of support for a general market move to the upside. This concerns me though. So XLP versus SPY has actually, it only had really 2 days of pullback into this trend line and has moved away again. That does scare me a little bit. This is why we definitely have to have one foot out the door. This chart, breaking key downtrends like this over a long period, it basically picks up the higher low from the market. That typically has led to pretty decent corrections in the market. So beware, that's not. And we're coming off levels that we haven't seen. This low here was lower than what it was in the .com bust. So be very careful going long. That's what I'm doing anyway. The equal weight has actually broken above that trend line as well now. So I thought we might get a bit more of a pullback and the markets would actually bounce a bit harder. We still could get that, but wow, it's yeah. The chop around these areas is probably the last little pump that we'll get before a bigger correction at this stage. Something that hasn't really happened before would have to happen for this not to play out for a downside move. ITB has found some resistance on this trend line so far. I want to see that breaking the trend line as well. Same with home builders. It's grinding up. I want to see it break this trend line. Semis got a little bid today. Still like to see it break back into this region as well. But semis were overvalued. It's one of the more overvalued sectors in the market. So DJI Gold, a little bit of support here, but it's still broken that key level. Hasn't reclaimed it. Same with DJT. DJT hasn't even reclaimed this quite steep trend line either. So want to see some decent moves on these to support a pump. The VIX, and it's sort of just grinding up. I'd like to see a reset on the VIX too before we really drop too hard. Interestingly, the skew has slowed down a little bit yesterday. So it had a big drop the day before. Yesterday, less of a drop. and today we're having a little bit of a bounce. Again, good levels. It's come off a really big high there. It would make sense for the skew to bounce as well. And the VIX one day has pulled back. So again, this is supporting a move to the upside at the moment. If this continues, come down, then you would expect markets to go up. And the amount of puts that are in the market at the moment, you'd kind of expect the market to try and bounce anyway. There are just so many puts. There's most options, I think it's like 70% of options expire worthless. And Wall Street is very good at doing that. So I think max pain would be to pump the price a little bit. They can't always do that, but it would hurt a lot of people that have got puts at the moment. So DAX, some stopping volume through here. Actually surprised that wasn't green, but there you go. Still no real confirmation of break of trend yet, but it's one to keep an eye on. If the DAX starts to break below this level, it's probably a sign that there's something big happening. Chinese market or Hang Seng hasn't really followed through there. That's a little concerning too. But UK market had a bounce. This is vector candle recovery. Hasn't pushed through the shorter EMAs there. Kind of expect that to come down a little bit more next week. Look, this could just be money. Like as the US market was pulling back, UK market and the German market were going strong, and that could have just been money moving around the globe. And the Japanese market was pulling back at the same time. So, and it looks like that's a pretty good basing formation too. Vector candle recovery, good looking candle with a fair bit of buying support. Momentum's back to the upside. BBWP is pulling back, but that's not a huge concern. So yeah, it looks like DAX and UK might have a bit more of a pullback while the US and the Japanese market go on more of a run. Treasuries, momentum still to the downside. So yields be going up. Yeah. I mean, this is a good level for a bounce for yields. It's done the measured move, good support level. Yeah, treasuries could pull back a little bit more. I'd be looking for yields to potentially get back up into around the 4.2% on the 2-year. Treasuries may have another pullback. But I'd be surprised if we get much higher than that. I think things will break before then. This is a little bit concerning too. So the LQDIF hasn't pulled back a lot, but it is still pulling back. Typically, I want to see this moving to the upside when the market moves to the upside. This can be a reasonable indicator of which way the market's actually going to go. So wait and see what happens with the Trump speech. High yield has retested this little trend line as well. Pulled back a little bit from that, but it's holding that level. So no major read off this yet, but it is an okay level for a bounce. Yeah, 2-year and 10-year moving up. 10 years back above this little trend line, so it could push up into the 4.5%, which could suppress the move on stocks a little bit, but see. Copper, bit of vector candle recovery so far. Again, I'd like to see this bounce, push a bit higher, break through that 4.85. There is a big vector candle up here to recover. Oh, excuse me. If we double top here, then it's not going to be great for markets either. Gold's kind of holding flat as well. Still want to see this pull back a bit further. Silver, good support off that level. See if we can break above this trend line though. US oil, good bounce off that support level. There is talk Trump's going to Saudi Arabia or something to talk to these guys. Maybe he's going to try and get them to drop the price, but he might be able to do a deal. We'll wait and see. But if something comes out negative, or if the markets drop considerably, then we could see a break of that support level. It did retest the value area low too, so that's just something to keep in mind there. Dixie, so Dixie looked so close to that buy box there, and if the US dollar gets more expensive, that could put pressure on stocks as well. Wait and see. Japanese market, sorry, the Japanese yen. That's a fairly big rejection candle there. Coming off pretty decent momentum too, so it could pull back a bit. Euros recovered this vector candle. It would make sense for it to pull back into 105 sort of region. Yeah, Brazilian's coming back. Hong Kong dollar looks like it's weakening. What? Oh, sorry. Interesting thing here, this British pound was going up when the UK market was going up. So it could have just been investors were moving money into British pound and the euro for the DAX. And we could see a shift in both of them. So the DAX could come down, money flows back into the US market for the pump and out of the European markets, so the UK 100, the DAX. That would make some sense. Again, if this breaks below this level again and sort of reconfirms it, then that's not going to be good for markets. So many bad signs in the markets, but I still think we've hit probably a local bottom. Again, good buy zone for here on the NASDAQ. Sorry, the Mag 7, which is obviously the NASDAQ as well. Tesla, did we close that gap? Yeah, we closed the gap. So permission for Tesla to go up. Looking for Tesla to get back up into this level. 328 is going to be a resistance level, I suspect. Little mini gap there as well. Actually, that's closer to 330, sorry. So looking for 330 on Tesla. Could do it pretty quickly too. Tesla tends to move move quite quickly when it moves up. Nvidia, again, seems to be basing around this trend line. It's recovered this vector candle here, full recovery of that now. Again, permission to go up, probably into this trend line here. So somewhere in this level, around there, is a pretty good target for Nvidia. What's that, over start of April? Google starting to move up as well. Microsoft, it's still above that downward trend line, which, you know, it's a pretty steep trend line, but it's there. It's in a good buy zone. I'm expecting a bounce out of that as well. Microsoft could close this gap too. And look, we could actually churn quite a bit higher. There is still some liquidity up higher for the market to grab if it wants it before we actually have a big crash. So it's not necessarily going to be a pump over the next 2 weeks and then we crash. There's going to be bounces on the way up. It's going to take time, but I'd either be looking for the market crash around April, May to start, like the next pullback on a major level to start around then, or later in the year, so November, December timing. Arcade still looks like it's getting support off this channel. Apple, good move on Apple, back above that support line. 3M, good closure of the gap, recovery of the vector candle, good level for a bounce. Amazon would have swept some liquidity. It hasn't closed this gap though. So again, Amazon may have a couple more days down yet. Some of these stocks will. Not everything's going to bounce. Meta, surprised Meta hasn't gotten back above that trend line, but that's a fairly big drop for Meta. Hasn't quite closed. There is a gap here too, so gap from there to there. Closed part of it, hasn't fully closed it. So Meta might actually be another one that makes its way down into one of these two trend lines. There is a decent support level there as well, around 580. Airbnb, wow, the massive buying off that trend line. Trend lines are important, especially big ones over a long time frame. Big support there. Good level for a bounce. Like, it's recovered all the vector candles from the move up. It'll be a grind though. I don't expect this to just shoot straight back up again. AMD, whoops, looks like it might be finding some support as well. Needs to get back above these trend lines though, because that there, it's getting into a level where there should be a fair bit of resistance. Broadcom, decent bounce. Broadcom, again, pretty good level. Swept the lows and moved up. SMCI, not a bad level here either. Realistically, when you put it through these lows, I'd like to see it above that, but this general area would make sense. But again, we're below the 50 and the 200 on most of these, so it's something, there is going to be some resistance on the way up. Just like Bitcoin's struggling on the way up through a lot of overhead resistance at the moment. It's just that resistance could turn out to be like strong resistance, and then we go bear market. Still, Ford's actually getting a bit of a gap close, nearly. Still keeping an eye on these. They seem to be just hanging on for dear life. But if they're moving up, that's not a bad sign for markets. Stellantis is, yeah. Aussie market, yeah, vector candle recovery happening. It's a pretty strong support level. The Aussie market may have another down day on Monday. I mean, I just, without any major news, typically don't get, excuse me, you typically don't get big runs to the downside like this without some major news going. That was 10% in one move, 11% in a week or so. What have we got? About 8%. Maybe we do get another day, a couple of days down, or at least a sweep of the lows on Monday. But yeah, it's. I would have liked to have seen it come a little bit before it begins. All right, so let's look at. Looks like market cap of the alts is holding at the moment. That's interesting. DeFi looks like it's potentially basing. It's picked up this vector candle wick here. Not bad for a bounce. BTC. Because these guys are still going nuts. ETH BTC longs. Let's have a look at ETH BTC. Oh, I'll be getting excited. There's a green candle. Maybe ETH will run in this next little period. Holy shit. They're just going nuts on. They might know something we don't. Let's go back to 13th of January when they started. Where are we? Yeah, right here, basically. Breakdown of that level. It's a pretty decent drawdown. A little bit more than that into here. Was it there? 32% drawdown. I mean, it's due, I guess, but it doesn't have to. That's the thing. Crypto, you're looking at this going, oh, it's got to bounce soon. It's got to bounce soon. It's got to bounce soon. Yeah. Let's have a look at ETH itself. It's looking similar to Bitcoin, really. It's not a, like we've kind of recovered this factor a little bit. There is a decent support level on ETH around 1850 down into the 1700s. But to be honest with you, it's probably coming back into 1560-ish if we're breaking these levels. Yeah, she don't look real good. As with most alts, hasn't made new all-time highs this cycle yet. And I gotta be super surprised if we do, to be honest. This isn't great. Really like to see CME. There is a trend line here which it's holding on the 1 hour, but I'd prefer to see CME actually get back within this channel. There is some vector candles here on the 1 hour to recover. Hasn't done that yet. Pretty well recovered this one, at least 50%. Still got some issues down here. So big rejection off this trend line through here so far. It's, yeah. Looks like it's trying to scare some people. See what happens in 25 minutes or so. Again, pull back into Trump speaking. Bit of a fake out, or just people getting out of positions because they're scared of what's going to happen. You never really know. because he already started speaking. That's a decent move down in half an hour, but I don't know. This looks more like it. We should be trying to break. You can't argue with that rejection now at the moment. Just crypto can just swing that quite easily. If we're closing, we close this candle below this wick, so below 87,482 on Bybit. If we close below that, then I'd actually be expecting more downside back into this, more of a vector candle recovery. And to be honest with you, we could still swing that during Trump's speech, but ultimately, I kind of I still expect more upside here. Yeah, it's a tough one. This is going to be a decent support trend line, I'd say, if we do swing to the downside. Want to be still closing hourlies above that. I think actually probably a better chart is actually this one, the total versus stable coins. If we close below that wick there, then I'd be potentially flipping bearish. At the moment, half an hour to go in the candle, 20 minutes to go in the candle. It's kind of a coin flip, but I'm still leaning bullish. Have a quick look. We're actually moving up pretty substantially on the Qs and on S&P 500. So what concerns me is they're moving up into Trump's speech. That could end badly, leaving some vector candles behind as well. Let's wait and see. Yeah, at this stage though, leaning towards upside. Let's go with the momentum. Vector candles up here that could be recovered as well. There's plenty of upside targets for the market over the next couple of weeks. But she's going to be choppy. The market is very reactionary to what Trump says at the moment and economic data. And the economic data is not great. Sol's looking stronger. So Sol's actually on the 1 hour breaking above the 200 EMA. Bit of a retest of it at the moment. You've still got the 50 there for support if it needs it for the vector candle recovery as well. So that's Sol breaking above this high volume area too is a good sign going into this. I do like the look of that. Morning, Marsh. How you going, mate? Hey, Coco. He has a face up. Charged him. All right. Yeah. For the record, I do have clothes on. I just don't have a shirt on. That's why I don't use a camera on these. Yeah. Daddy's talking.
Why you got no shirts on?
Because it's warm. It's summer. I don't sleep with a shirt on.
And I don't sleep with a shirt on.
Yeah, you do.
No, you're perfect. You can't.
Sorry about the intermission for that one person.
Put your boobies in the bin. Put your boobies in the bin.
Yeah, put your boobies in the bin. Coco yesterday, Erica pointed out someone that was running along the side of the road without a shirt on, and Coco was like, "He's got no clothes on." And Erica said, "Yeah, he's a man. He's allowed to run without a shirt on." And Coco's like, "Oh." And Erica said, "We can't because we've got boobies." And Coco's like, "Put our boobies in the bin." He wants to be able to run without a shirt on. So It's become a thing, hasn't it? Sorry for the intermission. Can Daddy just finish this?
Come on.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Oh, you right?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Okay. Just to show you, this here is the price average mining costs of Bitcoin at the moment. Quite close to price. So as of, what was that? Yesterday it was 86,486. So we're pretty close to that level, and we did drop below that yesterday. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Typically, we won't drop below that for very long, unless we are full bear market. So I am kind of expecting. We haven't been above it for long either. Like in a bear market, though, price can be below that for quite a while. All right. As you can see here, price was below that for a fair bit. Normally we get a lot higher than it though on a bull market. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 3 months or so. Sentiment, as I said yesterday, fear is pretty well at the maximum for dumb money, the lowest we've seen in a while. And yeah, smart money is quite bullish. So again, we haven't seen these levels for a while. This bigger discrepancy at least. So that's a good tick for the bulls there. This one's an interesting one. So that was at 12:35. I don't know what time that was. This chart's not great for getting exact timing or anything, but pretty decent opening trade there. It looks like it led to a pump. So that's interesting to me. It's still not looking great from there because it has pulled back a bit. And the thing that concerns me here is we've had quite a few big trades in here and a big one up the top here. This could be accumulation. It would kind of make sense to be accumulation based on what I'm seeing, but at this stage, this does concern me because we haven't had any massive trades like we did across the top. Still going to keep flagging that because it's still a concern. So we haven't had any of this sort of stuff down here. So beware, that's the 1 foot out the door kind of situation that we got going on. Coinbase is still going pretty well sideways too. A little bit of a tick up. Oh, that's a good sign there. 16th largest trade on a 2x long fund for Coinbase. That's a pretty bullish sign there. They haven't sold out of it yet, but that's something to keep in the back of your mind as well. That's giving me hope that up is more likely here. Mara, XLP. Yeah, Staples is still getting a swing to the upside. XLY is still coming down, and this is it. Like that ratio is suggesting that there's a crash coming. It's just how long we go up for on this next bounce, I think. But generally, like I've I don't have any stocks that should really come down in a bear market. I've switched everything into stuff that should go up. XLK, tech sectors, getting some decent trades along the bottom here. So again, there are people buying the dip. It's just financials are the worry as well. So there's signs there that we're pretty close to the end of this cycle. This doesn't look great. This doesn't look great at all. Again, could just be picking up some liquidity before running higher. Let's have a look at those levels. Some decent buys coming through here, but it's generally choppy. Look at the spot volume delta. So all through this area, we don't see this very often. We haven't seen this in ages, actually. That spot volume delta has just continued to the upside. Let's go to the 1 hour and actually look at how long it's been since we've had that. Like even through these little pumps here, we haven't had that. When was the last time? Realistically, the last time that we had that was the breakout from that region. Even then, it came late. We haven't got data past there, but like we had that pump out of the big 6-month consolidation region, and we went to the upside. And then slowly over time, we've just kept going down and down and down. So these guys have been taking profit. Generally, it's been more bearish than not. And suddenly on spot, we're actually getting an uptick there. I find that very interesting. Generally, big spot trades and big volume is the bigger guys doing it. Are we making new highs? I doubt that. But yeah, that's a good sign to me. There's been bugger all of it. Like they've generally been downtrending on the CBD. That signifies a bit of a shift. You're not getting it on futures so much. Futures got a bit of a run up there on this little run. Futures is more reactionary in its moves. Sometimes it can lead the little pumps, but yeah, at this stage, looking at this, I think that is a pretty good sign. See, the spot guys were selling on the way up here. Futures guys need to come with it though. I'd be much happier if the futures started to tick up on CBD. That would be a much better scenario. We've got 10 minutes before Trump speaks and the close of this candle too. That's, as I said, that closure below that wick's going to be interesting. Yeah. Spot guys are liking the buy the dip here. Liquidity levels, let's have a quick look at them. So this has been a big one, but wanted to cover it off before the weekend. That could be the target of a sweep. 86,749, potentially even lower into this area, so 86,200s. A sweep of that before going bull looks pretty likely at the moment, actually. Just based on liquidity levels, it's taken this one out, as it tends to do. This gigantic one's sitting here for this long, like 76 million at that level. That's pretty decent. It's the biggest level on the chart at the moment in the the near levels. So let's have a look on symbol. Yeah. Took a decent one there already. It's interesting going Binance versus everything. But yeah, that a sweep of this level is possible. Not necessary, but possible. See how we go. Let's have a look at the week. Yeah, I mean, it's looking good for a pump. Just based on that liquidation heat map. Oh, liquidation map. The daily's fairly balanced, a little bit overbalanced to the upside. 7-day big overbalance to the upside. 30-day massive overbalance to the upside. So 100k is an interesting target, but I suspect if we're getting through this level here over the next couple of weeks, then we will actually potentially push quite a bit higher. So yeah, at this stage, a sweep down into the low 86s is possible when Trump starts talking, or even during his talk. But then I'd expect that whatever sweep happens, if it happens, to actually be a bottom on the markets for a little bit. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's about it. Good luck over the weekend. Could get nasty. Key chart for me is this one. Doesn't look like it wants to close. It hasn't even broken the low of that previous candle yet on total versus stables. So if it holds that over the next 6 minutes, I'd actually generally still expect upside. As I said, we could sweep on Trump saying something stupid, sweep into these levels. This was the announcement of Trump signing the exec order and not buying Bitcoin because they've already got some, which the market quickly turned the narrative around on that. Yeah, shit like that could happen again. That was a massive swing. Just in one 15-minute candle it was. Yeah. Have a good one. I'll catch us on Monday.